program motion number 3B from Councillor Wyness. I'm acknowledging Councillor Wyness on the Barron Building item.
Thanks. Considering how long we got to go, I'll keep it short. I don't think we should have a specialized direction for one building in the city. There's other reasons that the past council was told in camera, so I'll refrain from that. I think they should just be able to access the queue now that council somehow has a will to want to keep that program going.
Thank you. Is there a member of administration who can speak to that, why there is a specific one-off recommendation for the specific site?
Yes, Your Worship. It was a direction of the previous council, actually the previous council. Because of that building had stalled in its development and it had been sitting vacant and it was having impacts on the surrounding area, and it was also one that was it's on our heritage inventory. It's not.
Could I ask you just to move your mic a little bit so we can hear you a bit better?
Yep, is that better? So it is a building of interest from many fronts within the city. It was not eligible for the program that was focused on office to conversions for other purposes, because that building is no longer an office. It was ceased being an office in like 2014 when their original construction period happened. So at that time, council had set aside $7.5 million specifically for this building, which equated to about $75 a square foot. So on par, it's a very similar program to the other one. But what's important to note is that this building would not be eligible to apply to the current program because it's without council direction to specifically provide an exemption that it might apply even though it's no longer an office building. And the previous council did that for a building called United Place that had started its construction as well and had stalled. But that one is eligible to apply for the next round of funding. So that's how that sits now.
Thank you. Are there any questions or debate on this item? We need a seconder, actually. I'm assuming, Councillor Tyers, you've seconded this?
Yes, I'll second it.
Okay, sounds good. Any questions, debates? Councillor Johnston.
Sorry, how much money have tax dollars gone into the Barron building so far?
At this stage, I'd have to confirm. The only money that would have gone is for heritage restoration. We do have a grant with them for the restoration of about, it's around $1 million. I can confirm that specific number, but none of the 7.5 that council previously had set aside has gone to that project. The agreement that we had was terminated, so the building is without city funding.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Pentazopoulos.
So much. When was the 7.5 approved by council? It was approved,
I'd have to go back and check my notes, but I think it was approved around November 2020.
November 2020?
Yeah, it was the previous council to the last one.
Okay.
Councillor, for those who might remember, Councillor Woolley was the councillor for Ward 8 at the time, so that was...
there wasn't any funds set aside at that time?
There, not at that time. It was that council that set up the program. So it was Mayor Nenshi at the time and that council. So that predated, what's the date of that? I'm drawing a blank on the date, but.
So we don't really have any context why 7.5 was chosen, just that $75 a square foot?
Well, 7.5 was the request of the applicant at the time, but that does equate to about $75 per square foot based on the size of the Barron building.
Do you have a sense the expected tax increase incrementally?
That's something I have not evaluated. I don't know if assessment has done any particular calculations at this point.
Okay. And then what would happen to the project if the 7.5 is pulled today?
Well, similar to any other development, it has its city approval, so it would proceed as any market project would, or not proceed.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Kelly.
Councillor Panazopoulos asked my question. I'm good.
Thank you. Any other questions or debate on this? Councillor Atkinson.
I just want to speak to sort of this building in particular. I think, given where we're at in terms of, and also trying to sort of keep the consistency on the program as I spoke to earlier, but also where this building is within our downtown. If any of you have visited the Globe Theatre recently, if you haven't, you should go, because they're hosting pretty much every film festival in town. The Barron Building is the building directly across the street. It's been covered in scaffolding and just sort of not creating a vibrant and accessible downtown where it is. And so actually solving this has for sure the benefits of the downtown strategy, but I think in particular in this corridor and sort of the inaccessibility options that are being caused by the scaffolding and some of the pieces that are going out into the road and the trash bins all in and around, we really do need to see this one done. That's all I'll say.
Thank you, Councillor Schmidt.
I'll just reiterate, Councillor Atkinson, again, with what I said before, some compromise here is needed, but just hearing what we said, that we had to look back to 2020 to see when this was happening. This is something we need to finish this, and we have the opportunity to do that tonight with this. So I hope that just knowing again what we have coming up with the rest of the strategy, that we will let the chapter on this end so we can move to a new chapter.
Councillor Dhaliwal.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a question of clarification from administration. Today, this is not a decision that we are writing a check. There will be all different checks and balances with the applicant meeting the requirements that are set forward by the city, and then only this funding will be released, right?
That's correct. So the applicant would have to make an application to the program, which is administered by the same group as the rest of the program. So, and the final decision would be through the Incentives Approval Committee as specified in that terms of reference. And so there's no guarantee that they would get it. We would go through a full evaluation, financial and legal due diligence of the project based on what's submitted at the time.
Great, perfect. I just wanted that to be clarified, that it's not today approval that we are giving money, it's just setting it aside so the negotiations and those discussions can start. And I want to default to the area councillor. He put it the right way, councillor from Ward 7, councillor from Councillor Pantasopoulos. It's not just about the building, it's surrounding areas. How do we make sure that we are not creating more buildings like this? And it's not always about that. I know tax uplift is the key, but it's also creating the housing, making sure we are making our downtown vibrant, bringing more people in, making best use of all the investments that we are doing here. So with that, administration's answer that this is moving the needle, and this is not. We are not signing the check today. I will be supporting this thing. I will not be supporting this. Sorry. Thank you.
Sorry, could you just repeat the last sentence, Councillor?
I will not be supporting this amendment. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Over to Councillor McLean.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. I'll be quick. So if this was to succeed and then funding was pulled, then the applicant would have to start all over again. And what does that look like? What's the time frame?
Well, they would just continue on. It would be their timeline. There'd be no association with the city. If the desire is to have them apply through the other program, we would need council direction to allow a special exception for them to be able to apply through the other program. But if that's not done, then it's totally up to the developer on their timeline.
Okay, so then it could drag on and on and on. Because I understand where we're coming from. I mean, I'm kind of disappointed that this is where it's at. Here we are, and it has been maybe it was a mistake in the first place for this proponent. But if we don't pass it, then we have the risk of that street being blocked off for a long, long time, that building never getting done. I'm kind of tossed in between here. Maybe you can convince me which one way or the other.
Well, I would just clarify, it is definitely a risk from a broader downtown perspective to have buildings sitting vacant or inactivated. We've had that situation previously where we have projects that start, we have holes in the ground, and they sit, they become a challenge. And there's been cases where we've done special approvals as a planning department to allow, we used to call them, I can't remember how many holes in the ground that we had, but we have, it's not a good thing to leave them. So from that perspective, we're supportive of what it takes to get these types of projects through to completion.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other questions or debate? Thank you. Before I go to Councillor Wenas to close, I've provided my debate on the previous item. I think it's important for us to continue to reinvest in our downtown. Councillor Wenas to close.
Thanks. To some of my colleagues' points, we don't get to finish projects, the building owner does. I hope administration does better on their financial scrutiny, because we are here because the first round of financial scrutiny didn't work out, and that's what cost the money to begin with. So while we sit here and say, I need to get rid of the scaffolding, unless you want to buy all the downtown assets and become our own city-run developer and have no private industry in the downtown core, you can't do that unless private industry actually does it and manages their own finances. So, closed.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Please engage the vote.
Councillor Jameson, your vote, please. Yes. Thank you. Mayor Farkas, your vote, please.
No.
Thank you. Mayor Farkas, all the votes are in.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Please display the results. The motion to eliminate the 7.5 million for Barron Building has been defeated, 6-9, with Councillors Schmidt, Kelly, Dhaliwal, Pantazopoulos, Atkinson, Clark, Ewell, and Chabot, and myself opposed. Thank you, Madam Clerk. At this point, I will recognize Councillor Pantazopoulos.
Councillor Schmidt is moving this next item, and I will second it. Thank you so much.
I'm recognizing Councillor Schmidt then.
Yes, thank you to Councillor Pantazopoulos. Although the fact that his name was in there as a mover indicates how much work he also put into this. I said most of this before in my debate with Councillor Wenes's motion, but this was our attempt to listen and learn from the concerns that our colleagues had and to come up with some kind of compromise that gets what we need to get across the finish line as far as what work has been done for this program, but with the long-term goal, with the motion arising that you will see related to this later, and even how we've split the decision to vote here so that we can address not only the motivation that we have as a council to support the downtown, but to make this program work better should we decide to have the program continue. So I think this will work similar to how Councillor Chabot's motion went earlier. We provided two options here, and three options really. The third option I think will be an easy choice for a lot of people. But the other two will give you a choice as far as how you decide to vote on the motion. As Ward 8 councillor, it is something that I know for many other areas of the city, in principle, can be hard to support. But when it comes to the status of the downtown and being able to create a place that is safer and more vibrant, and remembering that the Beltline itself is also a community, that regardless of the issues with this program, it is something that will bring life and support into a community where we have 30,000 people. And ultimately, the message it sends across the country and the world from what we've seen is a positive one, and that should just be motivation for us to make this work better. So I look forward to the debate, and I hope that ultimately the recognition here is that we did try to find a solution for an imperfect situation.
Thank you, Councillor. Over to Councillor Chabot.
I sworn there was two names in between us. Just curious, administration's interpretation of recommendation number 2.
Through the mayor, so we have a program called the Downtown Non-Market Office Conversion Program, which we have started. It's initiated. I let Reed Henry, Chief Housing Officer, come to speak to the details, but the idea is this 10 million, instead of going to the Downtown Calgary Development Incentive Program, it would go specifically to this non-market program, which is also designed for converting office buildings to residential.
That's enough, actually, for me.
And so to build on the answer by Director Mahler, it's a program that we launched. We've launched the first iteration of this with $10 million in funding in July of this year. We've seen a good uptake, and so this would be adding on to that existing program. The units are 100% affordable, so they target Calgarian households that are making 65% of the median area income or less, with rents that are capped depending on the units that are provided.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, I just wanted clarity around your interpretation of that recommendation, because somebody suggested it might be utilized for hotels or something. But that's not what this is. Okay. Yeah, if you could call them separately. When we were talking about this, I wasn't in favor of cutting the $40 million out completely. I thought, providing some continuity by an abbreviated version of the original recommendations. I wasn't a big fan of the $40 million when it was first introduced back in September, because it was kind of like something that came out of the blue, administration's recommendation to add $40 million. While it did mirror some of the previous decisions or recommendations from council, like I said, I wasn't a huge fan of this program to start with. I've seen the benefit of it, but I've also started to see the trend starting to reverse as far as the assessments in the downtown core. So I think at some point we need to put tighter parameters around the elasticity of the funding, if you will. I think that was mentioned previously, and happy to support, continue to move forward with at least the 25 million for now, and make a further determination as part of the 4-year budget plan. So if you could call them separately, I will be supporting recommendation number 1, but not the others. So recommendation 2 may have to be altered depending on the outcome to look at a different return to FSR.
Thank you. Let's just get a brief ruling on that. So over to you, Madam Clerk, when you read this motion.
I would ask administration right away if those 3 are able to stand on their own.
Through the
so
chair.
For example, if only bullet 1 were to succeed, the 40 million would be reduced down to 25 million. It sounds to reason that the delta 15 million would be reallocated to FSR. Is that how you would interpret such an outcome?
Yes, you'd have to amend item 3 for whatever the residual is, but 1 and 2, those 2 programs can operate independently.
And then likewise, if only 2 were to succeed, the $40 million program would be revised to 10 million only for the non-market office conversion program, and the remaining 30 million would be released to FSR, is how you would interpret that?
Correct.
And then if both 1 and 2 were to fail, then it stands to reason that the whole $40 million fund sum would be returned to FSR.
That's right.
Great. So based on those interpretations, that's how we will determine the outcome.
Point of clarification on.
Yep. Councillor?
That would only be if we voted in number 3. If 1 and 2 failed, we'd just actually go back to 40 million as it is in the budget.
Yep.
It would be then that the third one would have to be amended to kill the program on number 3, and we'd have to vote for that. Otherwise, we'd if we voted this all down, it would just revert back to 40 million as is in the budget.
That's correct. That stands to reason.
Point of order, that
Councillor Kelly?
we just passed a motion or an amendment approving the full 40.
Well, we rejected a amendment to delete the 40.
Thank you for the clarification.
Any other questions on process purely? Okay, over to continue debate. Councillor Pantzopoulos.
Perfect. I said some of these, but I just thought it'd make sense for this. The downtown office conversion program in its current form fails the standard of smart spending and thoughtful development, priorities which guide my decision-making. A 1% return on Calgarians' tax dollars is indefensible. I think all of us would agree to that. Offering tens of millions of dollars of grants for conversions without obligation to deliver below-market housing is simply out of step with the needs of Calgarians. We heard that earlier in this debate and the process. I cannot support a program that asks more of taxpayers than it delivers back to them. But I can support a program that is accountable, targeted, and built to deliver measurable value. We are investing $6.5 billion downtown, the Event Center, the Workland Center, the Green Line, and with downtown generating a significant share of our tax revenue, every dollar must produce real results for safety, vibrancy, and long-term stability. This moment demands discipline and leadership. The amendment responds directly to the concerns raised by all of us in council. It sharply improves our return on investment by materially reducing grants per square foot, ending an approach that feels like corporate welfare. It prioritizes office and non-residential conversions, the holy grail of revitalization, boosting property taxes without permanently eroding our non-residential tax base. It supports the construction of non-market housing, ensuring affordability, fairness, and real options for Calgarians. Most importantly, it relies on the expertise of the Real Estate Sector Advisory Committee, ensuring our incentive program is created by experts, not guesswork. It keeps the final design of the program back in Council's hands, giving us the final authority to set clear priorities and the accountability to defend them. And it sends a strong signal to Calgary's business community and the public. This Council can take a hard look at the numbers, make tough calls, and find common ground. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Any other questions or debate on this item? Councillor Atkinson.
I just want to dive in a bit on that non-market office conversion program. So the SAPL conversion, that is part of that program?
No, through the chair, the SAPL program is a different one. We have something called the post-secondary conversion program. And so that currently doesn't have any money as part of it. The previous amount was $9 million, and that's been fully spent now for the SAPL. So that's a program that exists that we could come in the next 4-year cycle to potentially add more to, but it's not related to these items.
Okay, sorry. So there's this the post-secondary fund, which is unfunded currently. There's this standard program, which we have 40 million in as it stands right now, but we're potentially proposing it to go to 25. And this 10 million then would be used for what kinds of projects? Like what are the examples of either ones we've done in the past or ones that might come to mind?
I will ask Chief Housing Officer Hendry to speak to that one.
This is a brand new program, as I stated, that we just opened in July. So it closed in September. The successful applicants are just being reviewed right now by my team. But a good example would be something like Neoma. So that's operated by a nonprofit housing provider in the downtown, is a office conversion delivering 100% affordable units. So when we say non-market office conversion, that is, to be clear, transferring office space to non-market residential apartments. Those apartments are then receive what's called a housing agreement, which we place on the title of the property for 40 years. That's the maximum allowable under the Municipal Government Act. And that housing agreement acts to guarantee for 40 years the maximum rents that can be charged. And those maximum rents are, depending on the successful project, anywhere from 30 to 40% below the market rate.
So we were accepting applications though, but up until this proposal was here, we did not have funds allocated or dedicated to this fund. So why would we be accepting applications for it?
That's a great question. And so the original tranche of funding was $10.3 million and came from the Housing Accelerator Fund initiatives that were added on in the March amendment that was signed earlier this year. So the first tranche of funds demonstrated a interest and a viability for this scope of work. And if we were to receive this additional funding from council today, we would simply reopen the program for additional applications.
Okay, so this is for non-market housing. So in your sort of best perspective, is this the right number? Is like, no offense to my colleagues, but it feels a little bit like we're pulling it out of a hat. Like what, like I guess, and maybe a question to answer in the close is why 10, 25, 5? And is that $10 million going to do what we needed to do in terms of a non-market housing, operation coming online?
It's a great question, and I would say it is a practical number in a capital-constrained world. Of course, we would always want more dollars for non-market housing for Calgarians, but what $10 million does is it offers the opportunity for, based on what we've seen from applications to date, approximately 2 to 3 buildings to be transitioned. It'll create approximately 120 to 150 units. Those units would include 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom family living scenarios that, very much importantly, allow people to work and live in the downtown, not if you just have, a high-paying job, but instead if you are a server, if you are a restaurant worker, if you're more and more the people that we see earning less than 65% of Calgary's median income, a program like this gives you a very real opportunity to live in the downtown while you work and play in the downtown at the same time. And not to mention, we are taking away the unused office space and turning it into activated space.
Great. So if you get to a point where you spent $8 million and $2 million isn't enough to get another one on board, but getting, say, $5 million would, given the terms of reference around your different funds, would you be able to take $3 million from the existing office conversion program and roll it over into the non-market side, or is there a hard wall between the 10 million we're allocating on the one side and the 25 million we're allocating on the other?
I would suggest we would come back to council if we needed to do a reallocation of those funds, because they are administered under entirely separate terms of reference.
Okay.
But it would be possible to do that if that was the wish of council.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Thanks for answering.
Thank you, Councillor Kelly.
Thank you, Your Worship. Forgive me, and please don't take these questions as for or against. I'm just learning of this, of the downtown non-market office conversion program. And just a couple of questions about the program. So we had $10.3 million in the existing pool. What did we get for applications? Like, did we far exceed that, or?
So in that case, it was a very limited program due to the constraints of the delivery timelines of Housing Accelerator Fund. So the buildings that received applications had to fit very distinct criteria, i.e. they can be demolished, converted, and occupiable by October of 2027. So that inherently limited the applicant pool. What I can say at this time is that it is fully subscribed. And based on these conversations that we've been having this week and last, we have checked in with our nonprofit sector partners and gauged appetite for applications in this program. And the response has been strong and forceful, which is yes, there's a variety of opportunities within the downtown that would easily fill this $10 million.
Thank you. I appreciate that. So similarly, in terms of the program, is it floors of buildings or is it whole buildings?
In the case of the current applicants, it's whole buildings, and so it's two buildings and approximately 200,000 square feet, I believe.
And you anticipate that in terms of this next iteration, it would be the same sort of parameters?
I think so. As Director Mahler touched on earlier, we're always interested in being adaptable to what is available that the market gives us, and so we're having those conversations. But yes, we would envision some sort of similar format. It usually aligns better for the entire building to be under one kind of operating model or operating group, and so that's usually what we see as applicants.
Well, I think that leads to my next question, which is just around, is there a way for an applicant or applicants to partner together potentially to have in the building some non-market and some market being done in different ways, effectively creating inclusionary zoning? But yeah.
Yeah, there's certainly opportunities for that. Under the terms of reference, as it currently sits, we do require 100% affordability, so we do not allow any market units to exist in these conversions. But importantly, we still have a lot of collaboration between different nonprofit partners. A great example, like I used earlier with HomeSpace, HomeSpace actually operates as a landlord for other nonprofits. So what you'll see is if they have a building, talking in hypotheticals here, but if they have a building with 100 units available, they may give 30 units to the Homeless Foundation or 30 units to another charity, and so on and so forth. So we see that collaboration occurring.
So under the current terms of, it is possible for between these two programs, a non-market and a market, to partner together on the same building?
I don't believe so, not on the same building, because the non-market piece requires 100% affordability. So no market units are possible under that grant.
I'd love it if we could re-examine that, but that's not what's in front of us here today. So, okay, thank you, appreciate it.
Councillor Dhaliwal?
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. A couple questions. First, what was the non-market housing? What was in July when we launched the program? What was the number again? How much money was allocated?
10.3 million.
Thank you. My second question is, the purpose of this is multi-factor, meaning we want to revitalize downtown, we want to increase our tax base, we want to have more safer downtown, more housing. It's been hard to pinpoint. My only question is, if we are opening this to non-market, non-for-profit housing, aren't non-profit organization exempted from property tax, so we will not realize any gains on that? It will be solely, purely housing.
It would probably depend on the arrangement. I don't know if assessment would have to speak to that, but I think in general, as go back to it, the goal of the program overall was to remove the original 40 million ask was to remove 530,000 square feet to keep us on track. This would still do that. It still removes the office space from the market, but you're absolutely right on the assessment return would be likely impacted by that.
Yeah, because, sorry, Director Lee, anything to add?
Yeah, so if it becomes a designated affordable housing by the province, it would be exempt, or if it is a nonprofit, non-market operator, it would also be exempt under our current bylaw.
Okay, great. So purely it will be creating housing, non-market housing, and maybe more vibrant downtown if you want to allow more people coming in. There was another question I was thinking of. I just totally lost my train of thought. But that's because I really like number 2, honestly, non-market office conversion. But all I'm trying to wonder is if downtown is the right place, given that, like, again, we want to convert space into, convert office into other space, plus, as I heard from council next to me, that return is not that good. Like, it shouldn't be acceptable to Calgarians. But in this case, there will be no return in a way except housing. So I'm just trying to understand this. But thank you for answering my questions.
If I could just add,
Sure.
I guess from a very broad perspective, part of the greater downtown plan and our downtown strategy is to diversify the downtown as much as possible. And that would include in the types of housing. And I think if you look at the west end of downtown, one of the challenges that it's had, even though there was a lot of housing there, a lot of it was higher end housing. So Eau Claire and downtown west, there was a lot of luxury condominium, and it's not occupied as much as a broader breadth of market. So things like these non-market housing projects, the Attainable Homes Project, the Neoma Project, they actually bring, it's housing for workers, it diversifies, it could be for students, it could be for nurses working in the Schumer, it could be anything. Like, I think it's just the overall diversity of housing is still a really good thing for downtown if you take the pure return on investment equation.
No, I totally agree with you. I mean, if the focus is to create that housing and diversity of housing, good mix, this is great. But if we are also considering the return on our investment and all that, we gotta be careful what we are trying to achieve here. So no, thank you so much.
Thank you, Councillor Dhaliwal. I'm going to acknowledge Councillor Atkinson again on a potential amendment.
I just want to dive back into the post-secondary funding. So how much was given for the School of Architecture, Planning and Landscape? And do you see that as like a valuable addition to the downtown?
Absolutely. So there was $9 million was set aside in the previous budget for the post-secondary program specifically. I would note the Downtown Calgary Development Incentive Program allows for money to be spent on post-secondaries as well. So we have, essentially, there's two ways of potentially funding that, but any post-secondary we would likely run through the same due diligence we do for the post-secondary.
So I'm just thinking about this, like if we took this $5 million that we're just throwing back into the fiscal stability reserve, but we actually applied it to getting another post-secondary potentially to open downtown, MRU, SAIT, ACAD, like there are a lot of great post-secondaries that could add a lot of, young folks into our downtown, getting them to activate downtown. Do you think there would be value in, rather than putting it back into the fiscal stability reserve, to putting it dedicated to post-secondaries? Is that enough? Would $5 million be a fund that does that?
Difficult to say. It would definitely be a benefit. My staff are talking regularly to all of the major post-secondaries based in Calgary. I think that there's not necessarily an imminent project that we'd be able to quantify, but it's something we could get back to you on. But $5 million would help, but we don't have a benchmark against which there's a current proposal to say that's about right.
Okay. I will propose an amendment to shift that from the fiscal stability reserve to dedicating it to specifically post-secondary.
Okay, this motion will require a bit of reworking. It's probably, I'm just looking at, I know Madam Clerk does not like us doing this on the floor, so I'm just reading it. It's reducing the planning and development services current $40 million one-time operating funding for the downtown office conversion program in 2026 to, and then maybe it's just maybe two is the final word of that sentence, and then it's a menu of options below it.
And if I could just clarify, Your Worship, I just wanted to clarify, the education for the existing program, the Downtown Calgary Development Incentive Program, is only for K-12. So that'd be for schools, it wouldn't be for post-secondary. So in the motion, we'd have to specifically state to the post-secondary program.
To the post-secondary program.
I can get a specific name if clerks wishes it, but if you called it the post-secondary conversion program, that'd probably do.
And then that third bullet would be renamed $5 million to the aforementioned program?
Sorry, I was just communicating. Yes, could you repeat the question?
Yeah, we just need the exact verbiage for which program or fund that would be.
Okay, I will get the name for that.
And just to be clear, we are replacing in bullet 3 fiscal stability reserve with the name of the new program.
Right.
And we are, in the preamble, we are stopping at downtown office conversion program in 2026 to eliminating the following word.
Yeah, and then I think that makes logical sense.
And I have the catchy name for the program, if you'd like. It's the Downtown Post-Secondary Institution Incentive Program.
It's pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
Our council will give this just a
Institution.
moment to
Singular,
get caught up on the screen there.
can tell the marketing team was not involved in that.
Do I have a seconder for this amendment to the amendment? Councillor Clark has seconded this amendment to the amendment. You'll have to remember our training. This is the deepest that we can go. We cannot amend amendments to amendments to amendments. We're almost there, just a moment, folks. I think it's coming up right now.
It's ready, Your Worship.
Thank you, colleagues. So the amendment is up on the screen. Or rather, the amendment to the amendment is up on the screen. This has been moved and seconded. Is there any debate on the amendment to the amendment? Councillor Chabot.
I just need some clarity from Mr. Muller. So currently, the recommendation number 1 would allow for office to institutional or education, or how's it currently worded?
The first bullet, the 25 million would allow for residential, hotel, and K-12 education, arts and culture uses.
K-12, but not post-secondary?
Not post-secondary, yeah. We have a separate program for the post-secondary specifically.
And is there any funding currently allocated to that program?
No.
0? So it's been fully expended?
It has, the terms of reference still exist, so it is a program we can, with funding, we can operationalize without coming to council.
And has it resulted in any post-secondary institutions being developed?
Yes, so the School of Architecture, Planning and Landscape is moving their entire operation. They will open an office building in January, and we have had conversations with many others who are also considering possible options and locations in the downtown.
But no current funding for any others?
Correct.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other speakers on the amendment to the amendment? Okay. Do we have the correct program specified?
So we just need to add one more thing. It's in planning and development services, so it has to be added in there as well at the end.
In
after the
addition to
program.
what the
Yes.
preamble is in both places?
Yes.
Okay.
Should we come back to this, Madam Clerk, or is it relatively quick to make the change?
The issue we have is we type in one place and then we cast the vote in another, but it should come up in just 1 second.
Sounds good. Thank you so much.
It's been recast with the words in planning and development.
Okay, great. Seeing no other lights, over to Councillor Atkinson to close on the amendment to the amendment.
So we've had some good conversations around, I think, the importance of the downtown revitalization fund. And I know not everyone agrees with that funding, but I think that this funding towards the School of Architecture and Planning and Landscaping that's coming in on the west end of downtown over on the 8th Street platform in the old Nexon building is one of the most exciting projects that's actually come out of this for me. It's bringing in a lot of students downtown. It's connecting them up with the other U of C campus that is just across 8th Street behind the Max or old Max convenience store there. And I think that this kind of dedicated funds for $5 million towards this will actually maybe incentivize some of these other post-secondaries, ACAD, SAIT, MRU, to come and get another small campus going in downtown, which brings a lot more students into the downtown and really helps with that sort of vibrancy and building up our downtown on the whole. So that's why I'm making this amendment to dedicate the funds more specifically.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Let's please engage the vote.
Councillor Ewell, your vote, please. Thank you. Councillor Johnston, your vote, please. Thank you. Councillor Ewell was a no. Mayor Farkas, all the votes are in.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Please display the results.
I believe we are having technical difficulties. Oh, there we go.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. The renaming of the $5 million from FSR over to post-secondary, the amendment to the amendment has failed with Councillors Ward, Johnston, Pantazopoulos, Ewell, Jameson, Tyers, Chabot, Winus, and McLean opposed. Okay. So we're now back to the amendment proper. Anyone wishing to speak on the amendment proper? Seeing none, I'll just briefly thank Councillor Schmidt, Atkinson, Pantazopoulos, others for your leadership on this. I think this amendment really responds to the legitimate concerns that members of the public had raised about the program while continuing to offer good value for Calgarians, and I think that this is a good course correction. So with that, over to Councillor Schmidt to close.
I'll close just with bringing us all back to our first week where our message was that we were going to act differently as a council. We were going to be open to compromise and crossing different ideological boundaries to find solutions that work for Calgarians while managing things responsibly. So again, thanking Councillor Pantazopoulos for his advocacy here and the willingness of colleagues to discuss how we could find a potential path forward. This was what we came to. The $5 million back to FSR is a sign that we recognize what some of the motivations here were to put money back into the pockets of Calgarians while still supporting a program that has shown some success. I will say for the $10 million to the non-market office conversion, we certainly do lose some tax productivity there, but as all of the data shows us, housing somebody who needs a home saves more money in the long run than anything that we can do for any type of tax productivity. And finding homes that are close to amenities, close to transit, close to our downtown is a solution that has long-term positive impacts for people and for our city, because those are folks that would otherwise not have a safe place to live, and that we would otherwise have to go back to our discussion around mental health, addictions, emergency services, all of the most expensive things that we spend money on as far as helping our city be safe for everybody. So $10 million in the long run for 100% non-market housing in an area that will set people up to succeed is something that I hope we can all support, because it's a unique opportunity and it's something that we see has success already through it being subscribed in a different context than the 25 million, because this is subscriptions from organizations that are only providing non-market housing for people who desperately need it. So again, thank you to everybody for their willingness to talk about this, and I hope that we can find support. And as you'll see for the notice of motion that's coming, that's further, or the motion arising, further recognition that we are alive to the issues that have been raised and want to find a better path forward.
Thank you, Councillor Schmidt, and I just want to re-explain to members of council, this would be called separately, each of the three items. And remember, if you are opposed to this program, voting against the recommendation 3, the return to FSR would essentially keep the program at 40 million rather than 35. So with that, Madam Clerk, please engage the e-votes.
Mayor Farkas, your vote, please.
Yes.
Thank you. All the votes are in.
Thank you. Please display the results. On the 25 million portion, that motion is carried 10-5 with Councillors Johnston, Ward, Jamieson, Wyness, and McLean opposed. Madam Clerk, let's proceed with the second item. And this is the 10 million for the downtown non-market office conversion program.
Mayor Farkas, your vote, please.
Yes.
Thank you. All the votes are in.
Thank you. Please display the results. So on the non-market portion, the motion is carried 8-7 with Councillors Ward, Johnston, Jamieson, Tyre, Chabot, Wyness, and McLean opposed. Thank you. Now let's proceed to the vote on the remaining, the third bullet, which was the 5 million return to FSR.
Mayor Farkas, your vote, please.
Yes.
Thank you. All the votes are in.
Thank you. Please display the results. The 5 million return to Councillor, or rather to the 5 million return to FSR, that motion is carried 12-3 with Councillors Kelly, Atkinson, and Chabot opposed. Councillor Chabot, is that your correct vote listed there? Okay, thank you. All right, so I believe we're keeping a running tally. If I recall correctly, we're 1.18% on the operating side for the tax increase, and I believe this motion has freed up 5 million back to FSR. Is that correct, CFO Tecker?
Yes, that's correct. So we opened the day at 9.2% on our FSR, and we are still at 9.2%. One slight change, we have expanded the number of decimal points that we're now using on our shift on tax. So it was in the documents rounded to 3.6. Mathematically, it was actually 3.56.
Repeating, of course. Just kidding.
So instead of being 1.18, it's actually mathematically 1.14. But the overall total amount of the revenue, the increase in revenue, is still the 88.2, but we've just expanded the math on that detail. So that's just a change since the last time we spoke about it.
Okay. Thank you. And now I will go to the two remaining motions that relate to creating one-time capacity. Over to Councillor Atkinson on the removal of Calgary Police Service Reserve funding.
Okay. So there is a $5.7 million allocation towards police funding for reserve deficit, fleet and helicopter in one-time operating in the public safety adjustments. This amendment proposes that we strike that 5.7 shift to police reserve, and the justification for doing so is around the fact that we are actually funding the shortfalls that we see from fine revenue in other ways. So we are already doing $28 million towards fine revenue budget shortfall due to provincial automated traffic enforcement restrictions, which is going into one-time operating. And then we also are, for the same sort of items that are covered, the vehicle replacements, funding $5.6 million in capital. So I'll also ask CSJC Flowen to give a little bit of background on maybe the difference here. We don't want to, we want to make sure that we're staying away from dictating what it is that the police service does. That is not the role of council to get into, but it is our job to assess where the funds are, the effectiveness of those funds being used. And I think that it is our role to make sure that we have oversight. And by applying the funds into a reserve fund, we lose that oversight and ability to assess the funds and their allocation when they are put into a reserve, and then the police gets to apply them. They've been, as was shown in a memo that came out a couple of days ago to all of us, they've been making the adjustments needed, and we heard from the police chief around making, changes or modifications to the helicopter engines and things like this. They've been finding the funds as it's gone along. So this just allows us to sort of keep oversight and assessment value on the asks coming from police.
Thank you. Is there a seconder for this amendment? Councillor Schmidt. Over to Councillor Weines.
Sorry, I think you misheard the chief. They find funds because of the reserve, and this isn't just helicopter. This is fleet vehicles and helicopter you're going after, which are a tool that police officers have to utilize. So while I get you like the political conversation on this, Commission would happily come do a presentation to discuss this further and help you understand how we are cash flowing, and at the end of the day, everything comes back to the taxpayer. And if you look at municipalities across Canada, police budgets are escalating to the tune of like 3-4% tax increases. So I would caution council against supporting this. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions or debate on this amendment? Councillor McLean?
Just to echo some of Councillor Wyness's sentiments, a lot of people say that the helicopters are necessary, or they make a lot of noise, or they're just out doing training missions. They're not. They're out catching bad guys. And the cops in the fleet that they want here for the cars, they're out catching bad guys. If you want to defund the police, go right ahead, but I'm not getting my vote.
Councillor Dhaliwal?
Yeah, I just got a question. 2023-2026 cycle, 8.2 million was already earmarked to be going into this reserve, and now that's 5.7 million one-time extra. I don't know. That's lots of money, but 5.7 is a significant amount. I know if it was going to mental health and addiction, we would be killing it, but that's a different story. I just want to understand, through your conversations, is this like something that came up late? I saw the memo. It was very unclear. There was lots of things in there.
Through the chair, Councillor Dhaliwal, yes, as per the memo, what they identified was what our colleagues in the Calgary Police Commission identified was that their capacity to maintain what they need in these reserves had been eroded by the fact that they haven't been getting as much fine revenue as they had in the past. And in order to maintain the reserves at an appropriate level, they needed this additional contribution to the two reserves. I would identify that in our favorite pink book, the reserve review, both the balance for the helicopter maintenance reserve and the balance for the Calgary Police Service Capital Reserve, which includes vehicles, are reported here, and indeed both of them have been drawn down quite significantly. So that's what prompted the request.
Okay, great. Thank you. That's it for me.
Any other comments or questions on this? Maybe first to you, Ms. Black. Could you just summarize the memo very quickly for the members of the public?
Certainly, yeah. Thanks for the opportunity to do that. The memo quotes from a message that we got from Corwin Odland, who's the, I forget what his title is, the Executive Director for the Calgary Police Commission. It starts by explaining that the helicopter reserve is how all the maintenance of the two Hawks helicopters is funded, and it describes how the costs of helicopter repairs can be big ticket items, is the expression that's used. It can be expensive. Then it explains the need for the $5.7 million, $2.7 million to the fleet reserve and $3 million to the helicopter reserve is required to support the anticipated 2026 fleet capital and helicopter maintenance costs. And then it closes by identifying that in 2023 and 2024, there were significant shortfalls in expected fine revenue, as we've discussed already. To prevent impacts to policing services, the CPS managed this shortfall in part by contributing $1.6 million less to reserves in 2023 and $4.7 million less to reserves in 2024. Following this, the cost of police vehicles and helicopter components has increased substantially more than anticipated, and those are the things that together have prompted the request.
Thank you. Council, I'd ask you not to support this. As per the memo and previous experience, CPS has already pushed vehicles past the national standards to save money, and that approach has backfired. We can't demand better public safety while starving the very tools that make it possible. So at the end of the day, if we cut this, we're either grounding helicopters or pulling money from frontline policing. Those are the only options, and neither are acceptable. So I will not be supporting this. Over to Councillor Atkinson to close.
This motion is not about not keeping our helicopter in the sky. We heard that there have been improvements to the helicopter made in the last couple of years. This is a reserve fund. This is not about taking away the tools. We are giving the tools in terms of applying $5.6 million for police vehicle replacements in this. If there was an engine blowout, we could be in here tomorrow. It is not about making sure that our police, we want to make sure our police have the tools. It's just about making sure that we're not just creating one set of funds over here that we no longer sort of get the assessment and oversight on and in terms of applicability. That's all.
Thank you so much. Madam Clerk, please engage the e-vote.
Mayor Farkas, your vote, please.
No.
Thank you. All the votes are in.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Please display the results. On the removal of $5.7 million for the police reserve funding, the motion has been defeated 1-14 with only Councillor Atkinson in favor. I'm acknowledging you again, Councillor Atkinson, on a separate amendment.
So this amendment is towards the $750,000 in one-time operating funding for the intermunicipal initiatives Foothills annexation. This fund was brought forward by administration to do the work that council previously directed in terms of annexation on the southwest corner of the city. This work has actually already been done. We've had a committee previously that reviewed this through council and through administration, and it was deemed that we should not pursue this, but it has been brought back again. It got through on a notice of motion with the previous council, and so administration is asking for the funds to do the work, which is the amount that's here. I don't think we should be applying these funds because I don't think that we should be doing the annexation in the end. I'm not going to speak to the specific numbers there. We were all briefed in our closed session of council in terms of what the dollars were that are being requested as a part of that. So I just don't think we should pursue this unless we're ready to pursue the annexation on the whole. I'm not ready to pursue the annexation on the whole, so I don't want to throw bad money to pursue that work to then just not pursue it the whole way through. So that's why I'm bringing forward this motion.
Thank you, Councillor Atkinson. Is there a seconder for this amendment? All right, Councillor Kelly has seconded it. Councillor McLean?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. So if you second it, that means obviously you don't have to vote for it, just like we saw in the last round. I'm not going to waste a lot of time on this because, as Councillor Atkinson said, the previous council did support it. Sometimes you do kind of follow what previous council direction was. It had pretty good support, and can't say too much about the last time we talked about it in closed, but can I say that it was overwhelmingly supported last time around? I think that's probably fair enough. So I don't know why we're doing this again. So I'm going to go speak and go through all the ups and downs of whys and hows or whatever. But yeah, please don't support this, and let's keep proceeding. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other requests to speak on this? Councillor Kelly?
Part of the reason why I was happy to second this was just to ask a question that I didn't ask back when without getting into what we talked about in camera. The budget for the annexation is not included in the current budget, correct?
I would ask Director Davies-Murphy to speak to that.
Hi, Kathy Davies-Murphy. I'm the Director of City and Regional Planning. Councillor Kelly, this $750,000 is solely for staff to conduct the annexation and also for some public engagement. So any compensation that would be arrived at through an annexation has not yet been identified, and it is not in the budget.
And that'll come back to us for an approval at that point, once there's a recommendation from staff? Correct. Perfect. As I said, I seconded this in order to be able to basically ask that question, but we've already dealt with this as a council, so I don't think I'll be changing my vote from the one that I had last time.
Thank you. Over to Councillor Atkinson, close.
That was not the decision we made last time. The decision we made last time was to have it as part of the budget deliberations. Now we're actually here to have the budget deliberations, so that's why I'm asking you, council, to actually consider this. We're not able in the last discussion to actually just strike it from the budget. That's not what we're doing in that closed session. This had to come here, and so the question is if you think that this annexation is something that we should pursue. We now actually have a bit of background from the closed session as to what the costs are. And so if you think that the current, 35 to 49 years of land within the city is not enough for us to continue to build within, that we should spend the money and the dollars to acquire more land and hold that land and build to that land, then go for it. But that's why I'm bringing it here.
Thank you, Councillor. Madam Clerk, let's please engage the e-vote.
Mayor Farkas, your vote, please.
No.
All the votes are in.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Please display the results. The motion to remove the money for Foothills annexation has been defeated with only Councillor Atkinson in favor. Madam Clerk, we're nearing the end, or we're at the end here of the Section 3, creating one-time capacity. So we've been debating reductions to the one-time portion of the budget. We did have a submission from Councillor Johnston on community courts, and I'm suggesting, Council, that we hear that amendment now. It was submitted just earlier this evening. So, Councillor Johnston, can I acknowledge you to speak to the elimination of that?
Yeah, so we went over the expansion of the community court, and I tried to go in depth on the success of it, and I felt that as a council, the program hasn't been around enough for us to make a decision to expand it. I feel the premise of community court, again, is a soft on crime approach to what I think, again, if it comes down to it, we already have the systems in place that allow cops, peace officers, basically anybody downtown that witnesses a basic ticket violation, that they can be given the direction to go to the appropriate, whether it's mental health or even, they even have the option to eliminate the ticket altogether on the spot, right? And I wish we could have seen more data on it, but I don't want to eliminate the program. I just don't want to expand it until we have more information on it. So I'd like to see that this budget be reduced to 0 and then get back to it once we have more data on the community courts and if it is actually producing the success we've been told it has.
Thank you. Is there a seconder to eliminate the community court program? Councillor McLean has seconded the motion. It is on the floor. Over to Councillor Schmitz.
A few things here to begin with. From my previous job, I saw the effects something like community court can have, and it's a very nuanced type of effect on the court system. And I certainly take into account comments that this is something that is beyond what we should be doing as a city. However, it involves bylaw offenses, and it involves our bylaw officers, our peace officers, and it prevents clogging of a court system that is already overburdened and allows us more control over how we manage giving tickets and controlling social disorder, because we're often giving tickets to people who cannot afford to pay those tickets. So what we see is a vicious cycle of warrants being executed, people being brought into custody, being released, executed, brought into custody again, simply because they cannot afford to pay a backlog of tickets. Again, in a perfect world, would the province be paying for this? Yes, but we do not live in a perfect world, and the perfect is often the enemy of the good. And what this does is it sets the stage for us to have another avenue to bring people out of this cycle that only costs us more money and puts more pressure on our first responders. And we've seen allusions to an open-air drug use bylaw, and that bylaw will only work with a strong community court system in place. And it is an alternative to criminal charges that are no longer being proceeded with in the provincial court system because of directives that have been put on to federal prosecutors responsible for that. So this is an alternative that we have to find a solution to certainly a problem that we didn't create, but this is our city. We're dealing with our own prosecutors, our own peace officers, our own bylaw officers. And if we can control something to find a solution, we should do that. And in the grand scheme of what we're talking about here, $2.7 million and a pathway towards another bylaw that we're looking to help address the issues downtown, I think it would be short-sighted for us to stop this now. And again, this comes from personal perspective of seeing how this works on the ground. And we're restricted from seeing our own prosecutors advocate for this, but as somebody who worked in the court system, I can advocate for its effectiveness, and I hope that that carries some weight.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Clark.
Thanks. I'll keep this quite short. You know, soft on crime is an interesting thought. I'm not quite sure. I mean, we've eliminated mental health funding. We want to cut the community court, and I just wonder like how that expresses like tough on crime. Like we seem to be removing a lot of the barriers or safety net pieces here in hopes of doing what? I'm not entirely sure. I wonder, like, I don't know, maybe it's just like the lateness of the hour, but I'm not sure that we're fully grasping the weight of like the implication of making some of these decisions right now. So that's all I have to say. I won't be supporting this. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Tyers.
Yeah, I agree with Councillor Johnston. I think it is too early to expand the program with the 2.8 million to go from once a month to once a week. I have actually been invited by the community court program to go and watch it in progress because I had a lot of questions about this. But I think at this point, like I think it is a little too early, but there are some merits that I've discussed also, you know, with the police as well. They believe that it's a program that has actually provided a little bit of relief for some things that they have to deal with, and they have seen some success with it. So I'd like to study it for a little bit longer, and at this point, I don't agree that we should necessarily expand it until we have more information.
Thank you, Councillor Dhaliwal.
Thank you, Mayor, and my apologies. This was extensively discussed, but before I decide my vote, I just want to ask another question. Once again, expansion was, I know there was a motion arising or notice of motion, I can't remember what it was. Can you again go through the data and provide some context, what was the success like of the first initiative, and that's based on that there's an expansion happening? Please.
Yes. Hi again, everyone. I'm Erin Cervantes Altamirano, Director of Community Strategies. So in terms of, this actually did came through a notice of motion, Councillor Dhaliwal, in September 16 of 2025, where we were tasked with providing sustainability to community court from its pilot form into an actual program, and to also explore the sustainability to fund community court and to expand its scope. So far, community court has been in a pilot stage since 2024. Since then, we have had over 600 people gone through this program, and 172 have graduated as of October 31st, 2025. We spoke previously about the success of this program in two different ways. So first of all, addressing a pressure that our bylaw officers and CPS see in the system, and providing for an alternative avenue to connect vulnerable people to different supports that can help them address the root causes of why they are engaged in particular situations that lead to bylaw tickets. The other piece is that enforcement officers and CPS may be involved in providing bylaw tickets or actioning warrants, etc. But after that, there is no path forward. So this actually gives a mechanism to have some accountability, but also at the same time provide clients in this program through the necessary community supports. So through this process, we have also seen a number of people that have had their warrant status resolved. We have also had a number of people that have found housing supports. And as a result of all of this process, and we had shared a memo previously with council, we are calculated that so far we are saving about $1 million in staff time related to this program, just by leveraging the support in the sector.
Sorry, and the pilot started in 2024. When the pilot started, were there any benchmarking, like KPIs put in place? I mean, obviously there can't be KPIs, but some sort of a criteria that, look, this is what the success looks like, and based on that success, and you were telling me, what I hear is it's successful, that we can expand it?
Yes, so give me one sec. I may have my colleague here that might be able to speak a little bit more fully about the particular outcomes that the community partner would have identified. But I think as a city, and in regards to our own services, we have seen a decrease in staff time associated with all of the work that goes into supporting someone that will be ticketed through a bylaw infraction, and that will have to go through all of the different points of support that are required through court, through the bylaw officers, and through CPS as well.
I think a lot of the measures that we have been tracking through the Municipal Prosecutions Office in our law department and through the Calgary Legal Guidance have been mentioned. So around participants, around warrants vacated, around connections to supports, and then follow up with those supports. Part of what we will do into sustainment is look at what other KPIs, what other measurements we can bring into that. So we have a basis on what CLG has provided us in the past, and I don't have the copy of their report, but as a funded program, they provide us with outcomes from their lens as well, and then we receive information from the law department as well. Our law department, because they act kind of like a law firm, they do track all their time, so we can actually track time coded to this program as well. And then we would look kind of into sustainment on what more outcomes we'd be looking for. I think part of what's driven the request is demand for the program. It's just the amount of folks that we are seeing being referred to the program and that have been put through the program, and that we could I think that's part of the expansion scenario, is saying we are seeing enough of the tickets that our bylaw officers are giving to kind of warrant more than once a month.
And I heard 600 people have gone through the program, 172 graduations. And you said $1 million savings?
About that, so you would have received a memo Friday, sorry. So on Friday, and we did an exercise throughout that process of trying to calculate, the time that our lawyers spend with this particular clientele against the tickets that are being provided, multiple tickets, the time that our colleagues in EMCS spend with clients trying to refer them, et cetera, et cetera. So that's part of how we came about that number.
Okay, great. Because I remember this was a question posed to CPS that day when they came to the council, and they were really supportive of this program. I could be wrong, but that's what I heard, that they feel that this is helping them in a way and taking some pressure off their resources. So yeah, no, thank you for giving me context, because for me to make a right decision, or at least the decision based on the facts, this was important. That's it for me, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor McLean.
Thank you, Mayor. We've talked about this already, but I'm just going to share something that came up on my feed from the Vancouver Fire Rescue Services. And they had the same thing we're dealing with, just so many calls and so much stuff. But what they had said, and again, their words, not mine. It's remarkable the share of our emergency services that are now devoted solely to handling a few hundred opioid addicts, police, paramedic, hospitals, now firefighters. Most of what we do all day now is deal with the class of people we've decided should be able to do drugs all day. So there's a expression, doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result is just insanity. And this is what we keep doing. We just keep throwing money at a cause, more resources, more. And again, we can narrow this down to 200-300 people. I'm not saying I have the solution, but I don't think this is it. This is just more resources, more time, more efforts, and the metrics are pretty vague. We can say we've saved $1 million because of extrapolations, and I understand you want to keep doing the work that you're doing, but again, how do I quantify what we're getting out of this program? It's just one more thing that we keep doing that's saying we're going to allow what's going on to keep happening, and in a way we're enabling it by just throwing some more money at it and saying we're going to take you to the community court, and if you show up, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. And I don't think it's solving the problem. We know it's not solving the problem. So I guess the question is, do we just throw a bunch more money and resources at it and hope something changes? We could feel good about it. I don't think the taxpayers are happy that we just keep throwing money at it and we're not getting any different results. That's my opinion, and I'm not going to support this. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other debate on this? Councillor Atkinson?
Can I change my vote?
Councillor Atkinson.
When was the Calgary courts or community court program started? How long has it been going for?
So as we previously mentioned, this program started in June of 2024. So it has been in pilot form since then.
Okay. So, I've heard this quote where someone says, like, you're doing one thing and you don't change anything up. We should just keep doing the same thing. I hear you. Community court has been proving to get people out of that cycle. We've got people who are filing for housing. We've got people who are filing their taxes and being able to access different programs and get out of poverty. We're having people who are subscribing to their own care programs, all through a form that is keeping police on the street. It's keeping dollars in our pockets by keeping prosecutors out of the courtroom. And it's just an overall very effective program. This is the kind of transformation that you speak to when you talk about making change and seeing not the same result. We are seeing that, and we should continue to pursue those efforts.
Thank you. Any other comments on this? Councillor Kelly?
Yeah, I'll agree with Councillor McLean from the point of view of doing the same thing over and over again is the definition of insanity. This is actually doing something. This is doing something new. This is doing something different than what we've had. Sure, we started in 2024, but barely have a year and a bit of time to take a look at this. I am perfectly comfortable continuing this program for a little bit and then getting some more data and then making a decision from there, because clearly what we are seeing on our streets needs to be addressed. It's that, you know, Ned Flanders' parents meme. I've done nothing and I'm all out of ideas, man. This is something. Let's do this. I will not be supporting this amendment.
Thank you, Councillor Kelly. I will throw myself into the queue. I'm loving your energy level at hour 70 of our budget debate. You know, it's been said, but maybe I'll just start with the standard question to Ms. Black. How much does this funding represent of the overall program? Is this a reduction in the expansion and it still exists, or does this eliminate the program?
So the scenario that we have includes two components. So the first one is the ongoing operating, which is the base funding, which is 2.2 million, and that represents the whole cost of the program. So funding the partner as well as the community agencies, about 50 of them that support this program. In addition to the cost to the city, which include our training for EMCS bylaw officers, like the staffing components that are required to support this process. The one-time piece is the 2.65 million, which supports the expansion scenario, which will again include, that's all of the components of the program, including additional days for court time, and the inclusion of more or additional bylaw offenses, which currently are not addressed through this program.
Thank you very much. I will add myself into the debate here. So, you know, this is, it's a proven public safety tool. I think Councillor Kelly said it better than I could, but it's not about being soft on crime. It's actually about being smart. It's reducing the repeat offenses that drain our police, our courts, our communities. There's a lot of many low-level, high-frequency offenses that are rooted in mental health, addiction, homelessness. We know that community court is what's needed to be able to connect those people to treatment, supervision, housing support, so that these problems are addressed rather than just recycled back into our streets. And the results matter, and that's why I'm voting against this. We've already seen meaningful reductions to recidivism, fewer random incidents, fewer repeat calls for service, and this directly improves safety for residents, businesses, and transit users. It's also very much an efficiency tool. So for us resolving these cases quickly and appropriately, we actually free up the police, we free up prosecutors and the courts to be able to focus on the violent offenders and organized crime, the people who pose the greatest risk. So this is very much about accountability, safety, collective responsibility. It keeps Calgary safer while respecting taxpayer dollars. So I will not be supporting this. Over to Councillor Johnston to close. Actually, Councillor Chabot, you're in the wire.
Yeah, I was almost let off the hook. Yeah, no, this is something I would normally be voting in favor of. However, having seen positive results from this program, I support advancing it. Whilst I don't think it's necessarily a municipal responsibility, I do think it would be valuable to look at a motion following this to advocate to the provincial government to provide us with some additional funding, or to actually fund the entire program, to be honest with you. The catch and release method that exists today is just not serving the people. This is an opportunity to connect individuals with specific resources and needs that they have to turn them into more contributing members of society. I think this is a great program. Happy to see the expansion of it. Like I said, I would certainly entertain the idea be happy to advocate on behalf of the city to get the province to step in. That said, I'm not going to support this amendment.
Thank you. Over to Councillor Johnston for closing arguments.
Yeah, this feels like a redundancy that we're just adding bureaucracy to something. I never said eliminate the program, and I don't think we eliminated any mental health funding today. I'm not asking to end it, just to halt the expansion until council can see the numbers related to this success. If it works, then we should fund it even more. But if it doesn't work, and it is a redundancy to the programs that already exist, then yes, we should cut the entire program itself. And soft on crime is not holding people accountable to their actions, okay? And for me, this is gonna be people abusing the system. It's gonna deter people, or it's gonna, it removes the deterrent for people of, I mean, what's gonna stop us from breaking the law downtown if we know we can just go through community court to get out of it, or to get into social programs, right? And that's why I was curious if this is a fast track for social programs, if they get a backdoor by going through this. I'm not okay with shortcuts, especially when there's such a limited space for everything as there is. I don't think this is necessary for municipal public dollars. It doesn't fall under, again, Alberta municipalities, local government. So I would say let's halt the expansion, allow the system to play out another year or two, and then if we see success in it, and we can go back to taxpayers and say, hey, your funding of this program is bringing more people off the streets into homes, whatever we got, whatever the success is, we can use that to fund it more. But if it's not successful, then we have to cut it. So I would recommend halting the $2.7 million expansion. I'm not saying cut the program, just give the program some legs to really find out what it is before. I mean, yeah, 2.7, it's not a lot, it's a lot. But it is money, it is taxpayer money that we have to be cautious with. So I just want to be sure that the program is going to say and do what it's supposed to do. So I would suggest voting yes to this. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Let's please engage the e-vote.
Councillor Jameson, your vote, please. Yes. Thank you. Councillor Clark, your vote, please. Thank you. Councillor Atkinson, your vote, please.
No.
Thank you. Councillor Chabot, your vote, please. No. No. Councillor Johnston, your vote, please.
With respect, yes.
Mayor Farkas, all the votes are in.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Let's please display the results. The motion on the reduction on the community court item, the motion has been defeated with Councillors Ward, Schmidt, Kelly, Dhaliwal, Pantasopoulos, Atkinson, Clark, Ewell, Chabot, Winus, and myself opposed. The motion was defeated 4-11. Thank you, Madam Clerk. I believe from Councillor Johnston, we had a similar motion on the software licensing, and now would probably be a good point to consider that one-time reduction, or that reduction in the one-time. I'll go over to you, Councillor Johnston, to introduce.
So on November 11th, I asked the CAO inquiry for more specifics on the software licensing. And then once again, during questioning and admin, I had asked for specifics. And I understand there's cost overruns, subscription renewals that are sometimes 40% more than it was before. So I'm not suggesting we remove the entire budget ask, but I'm saying let's reduce it a little bit so that we can have some time to investigate the subscriptions that we're being asked to fund right now. I think it's just important to be transparent on, especially such a large item. I mean, almost $25 million. So I just want this to be more transparent going forward, even if we have to go into the Chamber of Secrets to talk about it. But I would just ask that we pause partial funding on this to allow subscriptions over the next couple months to go through, but then for the rest of it, that we can actually investigate exactly what is being asked for. Because it's just a lot of money to give out without knowing specifics on it. So I'm just asking for a pause on some of the funding to allow us again to go over more detail on it.
Thank you. Is there a seconder for this motion? Yes. Seconded by Councillor Jameson. Yeah. All right, over to Councillor Dhaliwal.
Thank you, Mayor. My question is to administration. First of all, is it even possible to do this? I mean, just saying, let's cut 10 million and I just want to understand.
Thank you, Councillor. It really isn't possible for us to reduce this number by very much. This is our best estimate of what the license costs are for critical software that essentially we can't run the organization without. So I did describe when we had the earlier session questions for administration, the type of software that we're speaking of here is the basic stuff that you need to run an office. So if you'd like to word process a document, if you'd like to email your colleague, if you'd like to hold a video conference, we need a license for that to happen. The organization can't work without that. It's also the kind of licenses that are behind our basic infrastructure of what runs our finance, our HR, our supply management. So if you'd like to be able to purchase things to build our capital projects, if you'd like to run budget week, if you'd like to pay our employees, we need these licenses. So if this money is not found in this way, the administration would really be in quite a scramble to try to find $24.6 million somewhere else in the budget.
This is asking to cut 10 million. How would you find that 10 million?
That might be more of a question for for our CFO of where we would look for something alternative.
So just to reiterate the licensing aspect, this is a reoccurring cost, and historically at the beginning of the 4-year cycle, this was treated more as a capital component, and as times and contracts and service providers change their agreements and their pricing, these amounts now are treated as operating, and they treat them as operating, and their increases relate to that. And I believe we also mentioned that some of these increases are relative to how they've changed their software, meaning there was some conversations around things like AI, Copilot, those types of products are now driving a larger portion of this pricing. So when we look at the aspects of could this cost be reduced, we're dealing with major vendors that are and provide the systems backbone for organizations. So there's not a lot of latitude in terms of pricing or choices about utilization. It was mentioned from a payroll perspective, whether you are in administration or whether you are frontline operating, you require that software in order to enter your time, for it to be approved and for you to be paid. So those are the major drivers. If we were to not have these dollars and essentially, again, these are one-time dollars bridging us to when this bigger conversation will form the basis of the 4-year strategic conversation, we would have to look or get direction in terms of something else to cut for the differential. But the idea of software licensing is not an area that we hold a lot of choice or ability to maneuver.
Okay. How much of this is nice to have? versus must to have?
This is must to have.
When I look at city's risk profile overview, and I look at our heat map, number 3 is technological disruptions. This is fall 2025, and we are in red. Can you talk about the criticality of this? That it's not just cutting, it's.
Yes, I mean, as CFO Tucker spoke about, we've seen this migration from the type of software that was a capital expense that was on-premise installed software that we would have to maintain here on our systems. And we've seen a migration to cloud-based, subscription-based software, which is an operating cost. One of the advantages of that shift is that it helps improve our security. So one of the things you're noting there is the technology risk comes from our ability to keep our technology modern and also to improve the IT security of that software. So the software that's hosted, in the cloud, those vendors keep those more up to date than maybe we're able to. So this is really modernizing that whole suite of software as we move this direction.
And we cannot take our data into the cloud, all of it, right? Because there's policies, how we handle the
Well, certainly all our data is subject to our review from an access and privacy perspective.
Yeah, exactly.
We do privacy impact assessments before we move anything to the cloud.
We mail out 395,000 whatever property tax bills. That's all private information. That's personal information. We cannot jeopardize that. Just based on our risk profile, which is likelihood is L5, consequence is C5, very severe. I don't think we should be even, like, I understand from the mover that more information is needed, maybe Q1 2026, but right now cutting this will put our enterprise at such a risk that I think Calgarians will not like that.
Yeah.
With that,
I can speak just to the issue of the information. So in negotiating with, particularly with these large vendors, the norm of how you negotiate is that a negotiating team is struck, and all of those members of that team are required to sign a non-disclosure agreement just to participate in the discussions. And those vendors guard very carefully their commercial terms and conditions, the amounts, per person for a license or any of those things. That would actually be difficult for us to share with council, even in a closed session, because you're not on the negotiating team and you haven't signed that NDA. And we don't really have a lot of ability to change that. I mean, if you're negotiating with these big multinational companies, they kind of drive the terms of that negotiation. We're big at the city, but we're not that big. And so it is unfortunate. We could probably provide you with more information than we have, but we won't be able to provide you, even in a closed session, with every little detail of every license.
My last question is, sorry, I lied again. Some of these softwares are very, they're niche, like they're very unique, that only a certain vendors probably can provide that service to us. And so we do not have luxury of going to multiple vendors and negotiating that, right? So that's first question, and I think that was it, yeah.
So the money that council is currently debating is for mostly some of our larger systems that we have across the city, which in some cases are near monopolies. Yeah. So we're directed in that sense. This is not the complete budget for software licenses at the city. There's many more dollars. I don't know the amount offhand that are allocated, and the city has a lot of different systems, and some of them are very niche, because we have so many different lines of business that many of them have very unique needs. So there is a lot of different kinds of licenses out there, and some of them are very, very specialized.
Okay, great, thank you. That's it. Thank you for answering all those questions. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilor Ward.
Yes, as the self-appointed IT tech nerd on council, I will say, yeah, I think this is nearly impossible, at the very least, very risky. Software's gone from one-time purchase to subscription models, and the costs are just ridiculous. There's also hardware costs that have massively gone up, and then there's access to cloud and AI services. The costs of those have gone up. It's more expensive to build and power cloud and AI services, so therefore the subscription costs have gone up as well. You know, I respect trying to find savings by Councillor Johnston. I just don't think this is the place to find it. And, you know, if this really bothers you, I guess buy stock in Microsoft and NVIDIA, and it'll pay for your software. So respect the process, but I just don't think this is the spot for it.
Thank you. Over to Councillor Kelly.
Yeah, when the time comes, I just wanted to request a division of the vote on this one to, in terms of the dollar amount, to all the points that were brought up, including Councillor Ward just now, I feel like we're over a barrel and we don't have much of an option in terms of this one. But I am quite curious to see as much of the information as you can show us in terms of where it's going and what it is. Ideally in open, but if it needs to be enclosed, I'll take that. I applaud Councillor Johnston for trying to increase some transparency around here, and I think a division of the vote will help with that a little bit. So I'd be voting against the first item, but for the second item. Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak? We will call for a division as well on this so that the two items are separate. So the cutting, it will be a different vote than the direct administration to provide the report. So seeing no other lights, over to Councillor Johnston to close.
I think it's nice to see that the rest of council just has so much blind faith in the lack of transparency from administration. I was sure I gave you guys enough time to give me at least some details regarding the subscriptions. I mean, it just doesn't feel right to spend that much money without knowing how it's being spent. I understand parts of the logistics of it. I mean, Councillor Ward obviously understands this more than I do, but I think if I've got to, again, go to taxpayers and say, yeah, well, what did we spend $24.6 million on? I just say, IT told me so, right? That's what it feels like. I want to quantify exactly how those dollars are being spent. I mean, the 10 million, I mean, are you guys saying that on January 1st, $24.6 million is going to be taken out of our account, or would at least hold that $10 million until we see specifically? I mean, there's been instances where government has overshot on subscriptions and all that stuff right across North America. I just want to make sure that we're not following that same path of just throwing money at stuff without knowing exactly where it's going. If one of my employees came to me and said, I need this much money, and I said, for what? And they said, I'm not going to tell you, he's not getting that money. So I would just appreciate more transparency on it. It is a lot of money that we're voting on here to allow, again, just to blindly trust somebody that they're going to use it responsibly. I'm not okay with that. I would just like to see more transparency on it. And the $10 million was just a buffer to allow us to investigate it further. And if obviously it's necessary, then I'm okay with that. But right now I just can't, again, go back to taxpayers and say, yeah, I'm okay with this money being spent. So I'm okay with the vote being split on this. But it's just, if it comes back and we get further details and some of that money was allocated, let's just say improperly, or maybe wasn't necessarily needed for this, then, you know, like, the trust is going to be broken. So I'm okay splitting it up, so yeah.
Thank you. Councillor Johnston is closed. Madam Clerk, please engage the vote. I know. For those following along, our e-scribe system isn't working very well. And Councillor Johnston just piped in and said we need new software.
Councillor Clark, your vote, please. Councillor Atkinson, your vote, please. Thank you. And Mayor Farkas, your vote, please.
No.
Thank you. All the votes are in.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. All right, so we are concluded on section 3 here. We're about, oh boy, wishful thinking. Madam Clerk, please engage the vote on the second recommendation, please.
Councillor Clark, your vote, please. Respectfully, yes. Thank you. Councillor Atkinson, your vote, please. Yes. Thank you. And Mayor Farkas, your vote, please.
Yes.
Thank you. All the votes are in.
Actually, we should have displayed the results for the first vote. Okay, we did. Okay. I just didn't say anything. That first vote lost 14-1 with only Councillor Johnston in support. The second recommendation for the report, the motion has carried 13-2 with Councillors Yule and Dhaliwal opposed. All right, Councillor, are we feeling brave? Can we do one more? All right, we have finished section 3, creating one-time capacity. By my estimate, it's about 10 motions down out of about 40. So we will now go to section 4, which is new capital spending using existing capacity. So over to Councillor Chabot on McKnight and 68th.
Thank you, members of council. These 3 projects were identified as the top 3 in intersection improvements on our priority list in the city of Calgary. There's obviously plenty of other intersections that need improvement. The highest priority one, of course, is downtown 5th Avenue flyover going onto Memorial Drive. The second highest priority, believe it or not, is 68th Street and 16th Avenue. I find that hard to believe because 68th Street and McKnight Boulevard is terrible. I've had the opportunity to drive it at all hours of the day, and it seems like it's backed up all the time, way past the entrance into the Dom Hartman Arena and Northeast Sportsplex, for those of you who have had the pleasure of either playing hockey or going there with children and whatnot. I can tell you that it's really bad up there. And it doesn't just affect my communities, it affects folks in communities in Ward 5 as well as folks in the community of Ward 3, believe it or not. It's like, road is like, traffic is like, it's like water. It flows in the path of least resistance. Well, there's so few opportunities to get onto Stony Trail that seems to be a go-to for many, even though it's really bad. We'll see some other intersections as time goes on that will need some grade-separated improvements. But for now, these ones can operate quite effectively with these investments for many years to come. So, hope council consider supporting this, and then we can move the 4th priority up to number 1. Anyways, trying to address any issues in my close.
Thank you so much. Seconded by Councillor Dhaliwal. Over to you, Councillor Dhaliwal.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor, and thank you to Councillor Chabot for bringing this as a notice of motion. I totally agree with him. Whatever he said, if you go to 68 and McKnight, we share 68, Ward 5 and 10. It's any time of the day. Traffic is so bad. It's backed up all the way to Don Hartman, he said. My question is for Mr. McLeod. While he's making his way here, I know some councillors will be wondering, they were not here, why these 3. If you can just shed some light on that. So clarification. And secondly, 13 million in 2026, are we going to be able to fix these 3 intersections next year or 27, whenever? Because they're much needed, please.
Yes, Mayor, Councillor Dhaliwal. Troy McLeod, Director of Mobility. The Operational Improvements Program has been in place for well over a decade and done a number of improvements throughout the City of Calgary, low-cost, high-benefit improvements. When it comes to this program, these 3 locations that Councillor Chabot went over are our top 3 as far as congestion and some Q-tails that are causing significant safety issues as well as capacity. You see significant congestion here. As far as the program itself, our partners in infrastructure services would support us in the implementation, so it would be 1 or 2 construction seasons. It is estimated at $13 million to provide all 3 of these improvements, and would increase safety and reduce congestion at all of these locations. So we would be able to have those implemented, but it may take 2 construction seasons, ideally 1, but could extend into 2.
No, great. Thank you for giving that overview. And that being said, once again, thank you, Councillor Chabot. Much needed. These 3, let's get them out of the way, and then we can start working on hopefully next 3, 4, including the airport trail in my ward. With that, that's it for me, Mayor. Thank you.
Deputy Mayor Jamieson.
Thank you, Mayor. I just got a quick question about the corporate capital grant. So we're trying to figure out what all these are. There's a lot of them. And so what exactly is that money, and essentially where did it come from? Where is it going? If you could, speak about that grant, please.
Okay, so as each amendment comes in, we look at the different types of funding available. Under this instance, it's funded 2 parts by the Municipal Sustainability Initiative Grant, as well as our CCBF grant. So those are provincial grants that's provided to us. And then we look at, what type of projects it is, and then we go through the different restrictions for each of those grants, and that's why we applied it in this instance.
Thank you. That's all.
Thank you, Councillor Johnston.
Sorry, what is the improvement for Memorial and 5th Avenue flyover? What would that look like? I feel there's been construction there quite a bit over the past forever.
Yes, Mayor, Councillor Johnston, the work over on the flyover is a different project. This work would be accessing eastbound Memorial Drive. There's currently a lane end, so it merges. It's about 100 meters past the intersection. This would extend it to Zoo Bridge and would reduce the queuing, sideswipe collisions as well, and increase the capacity for exiting the downtown core. Through the Operational Improvements Program, we were able to implement an extra lane on, an extra lane just on northbound 3rd Street, just to increase, northbound McLeod Trail to increase capacity. So that's the type of improvements we're able to do by either moving a curb over, which is what is happening here. We'd be able to move the curb over, the barrier would tie into the pier, and we'd be able to extend that lane so you can have dual turns right off of 5th Avenue to the Memorial Drive eastbound direction.
Are we doing flood mitigation on this wall? Or is that on the west side of the flyover? I'm just curious what it would look like, that's all.
Councillor Johnson, that would be another Memorial Drive project, but not at this vicinity. So
okay.
There's no flood mitigation nearby at this location. There is some work happening near the Zoo Bridge, which we can go into more detail. Infrastructure Services could give you a bit more information on that one.
Okay. But we're basically adding a lane to allow the turn off. Okay, and then what's it called when it merges into like a 4-to-3 lane? Would it just not push that back up further down Memorial?
It would give a couple things it would do is it give a longer weaving distance, and so that is important, especially when you're trying to merge into traffic. It would also allow an add lane so that you could tie into Zoo Bridge. That traffic that merges has to then weave back to access the bridge. So this would be a lot better operation. We did the same thing years ago heading westbound off of Deerfoot Trail. We were able to extend that lane at a very low cost, but westbound from Deerfoot to the Zoo Bridge.
Okay. I'm okay with that. Yeah, traffic's getting bad in the city, so I'm okay with any mitigation that'll help with that. And then just on the 68th Street there, would that just be kind of similar, kind of expanding a bit of the lanes or putting in a roundabout? Like what's?
Yes, yeah, that location, we really have high demand, especially northbound, southbound at 68th and McKnight, as well as westbound. We were able to implement at a very low cost the eastbound direction at $120,000 due to the nature of the turn bay there. But the other two locations will require widening of the roadway on 68th Street. That whole road would have to be widened, and that's where the costs come in. So what we do with this program is we look for the lowest cost, high benefit ones, but these two locations have significant congestion, as Councillor Chabot described. So it'd be a dual northbound, southbound there, as well as a westbound dual.
Would we have to rip up any of the work that was done in 2022?
That we wouldn't have to do. No, the nice part of that would be work that was done once, and we can continue the benefit of that. However, that widening of 68th Street would be required.
Okay, thank you. Yeah.
Thank you, Council. I need a motion to modify the 9:30 p.m. recess to conclude the current amendment. Moved by Councillor Ward, seconded by Councillor Kelly. All in favor? Any opposed? Seeing none, that motion is carried unanimously. On to Councillor Pantazopoulos.
Thank you. When preparing the $3.6 billion budget, why was this project excluded?
Councillor Pantazopoulos, this program is a operational improvements program, so it looks at localized improvements. The other larger capital programs, there's a lot more significant network improvements that are done. These are isolated operational improvements, so they include things like U-turn lanes that are installed or turn bay extensions, so they're very minor improvements. The program itself is typically $1 million annually. It has been larger in the past, but was cut a number of years ago just to allocate funds to more critical asset renewal. And so the program has seen a reduction over years, so it's about $1 million a year.
I see 13 million.
The 13 million is related to a major upgrade on McLeod Trail as part of a consolidated project. Developer contributions are in place. There's a bridge upgrade as well. And so a number of those, and it's just shown in the budget, but it's not allocated from the operational improvements budget. I can ask maybe finance to speak to how those monies are assembled, but you're right, it does show that for that program. So it does look like we have a big, large program, but that's not the case. It's due to a major project that's consolidated.
So what is the request? Is it 13 million?
So the 13 million for this, these three projects, yes, would be for Memorial, 68th, McKnight, and 68th and 16th. But there's another improvement going on McLeod Trail, a barrier project, as well as a bridge project. Yeah.
Why was it excluded from the $3.6 billion ask? I see capital projects of $100,000 that came into this document. Thank you.
I'll ask Director Vanderputten to speak to the larger program.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks very much. I think it just speaks to our capital prioritization standpoint. As Director McLeod indicated, we had identified a few $1 million to the operational improvements program as part of the overall portfolio, and this was weighed out against other service enhancements, growth, and maintenance requirements. So it was a balanced investment at the time. The amendment before you seeks to just increase the investment into this program.
I'm sorry, it's late. The ask is 13 or a few million? I've heard $1 million. I've heard McLeod Trail, which isn't included in this. What's the ask?
For this one, it was a motion by Councillor Chabot and Dhaliwal for 13 million to advance priority projects in the operational improvements program that is at 1 million annually, typically. And so this is 13 million to be able to do all three.
So McLeod Trail's not included. I heard you say McLeod Trail.
Yeah, I mentioned McLeod. There's a couple locations where we've done improvements. One on McLeod in the downtown as part of this program as an example. The other one is another major upgrade being done from a safety program. So just trying to give some examples, yeah.
Although this is in the top 10 of the operational capital improvement program, it was not a priority of the $3.6 billion capital. And it just, anybody can comment why? Like, are these that so far down that $100,000 in subdivision construction under public safety delivery was more important than this?
Well, I can start. This is a operational improvements program set at $1 million to do localized improvements. It's not the larger transportation capital program that introduces interchange upgrades and those types of things. That's a much different program.
But it's not $1 million, it's 13 million, correct?
With 3 projects, yeah.
Okay. Where does the cash come from? How is it financed?
For this one, it's going to come from 2 grants. So the provincial grant, Municipal Sustainability Initiative, and then there's the other grant called the Canada Community Building Fund, and that's a federal grant.
So there's no net cost to Calgary?
Correct, so it's all coming from grants.
Oh, okay, so it's a freebie. Why wouldn't somebody put it in the capital budget? I'm sorry, I'll ask it a 4th time. Like, it's free money. Just bump up, because then your grants would just go up by 13 million. Forgive the ignorance. Wouldn't it? Like, it's free money. Why?
So it's quite dynamic of what we do. As we look through all the different budget needs and then the timing of when things are being spent, we look at sometimes funding switches. So depending on when things are spent, a lot of these provincial or federal grants have timelines that we just spend things on. So we always look at holistically of all the capital budgets, what's being spent, and then we apply the most restricted funds first, which is usually the grants, and then later reserves, or whatnot. So under this circumstance, it's based on timing of when these comes forward and spending of capital projects.
One of my favorite investment bankers used to say, when the cookie jar comes around, you take 2, and if the province is willing to give us 13 million, I'll gladly support this. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Over to Councillor Chabot to close.
No, thanks, Council, for your questions. This is I guess tied back into the notice of motion, which is to minimize the impact on the corporation as far as the funding source, and they fully delivered on the request. This is not going to impact our budget. It's not going to impact our fiscal stability reserve. No tax increases. Please, Council, support this, and we can move forward with these ones, and then look at maybe in the future, look at maybe bolstering that intersection improvement budget, because $1 million a year, to be honest, it's not going to accomplish a lot. And we have other intersections that need these kind of investments that would benefit from a safety and a mobility perspective, whether it's automobile or pedestrian mobility, maybe a combination thereof. Anyways, it's just something for us to consider for the future, but for now, please support this. Thank you. Closed.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Let's please engage the e-vote.
Councillor Jameson, your vote, please.
Respectfully, yes.
Councillor Clark, your vote, please. Yes. Thank you. Mayor Farkas, your vote, please.
Yes.
Thank you. All the votes are in.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Please display the results. On the capital budget item, the motion is carried unanimously, 15-0. Council, before we recess, we have a council orientation session tomorrow featuring an external speaker. We did look at whether to arrange them through the noon hour, but is locked in for 9 to 10 a.m. So in order for us to accommodate this, I'm going to be seeking a reconsideration of our decision to reconvene at 9:30 a.m. and then a second motion to reconvene this meeting tomorrow at 10 a.m. The training would still proceed in the Power Reception Hall from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. So may I please have that first motion to reconsider the decision? Moved by Deputy Mayor Jameson, seconded by Councillor Ewell. Are we in favor? Any opposed? Seeing none, that motion is carried unanimously. Moved by Deputy Mayor Jamieson and seconded by Councillor Yule to reconvene our meeting tomorrow at 10 a.m. Are we agreed? Any opposed? That motion is carried unanimously. See you tomorrow at 10.